Everything from the ambiance to the quality of the food to the type of food makes you feel like you're in a different time period. That entire room is lit by candlelight. There's not a single electric light in there. Bear sausage?
I honestly feel like yesterday we got on a plane and we were transported back to the 1600s.
Welcome everyone to the slightly cold but beautiful country of Estonia. Coming to Estonia was actually a bit of a rude awakening for us because we've gotten all too used to really pleasant weather, but we forgot how north we were going. And yeah, it's a little chilly here, I'm not gonna lie, but we didn't haul around our winter gear all this time for absolutely nothing. It had a purpose. It's gonna keep us warm today in Tallinn. Now the one slightly unfortunate thing about being in Tallinn when it's so cold is that there's a lot of cool outdoor activities here. They have an awesome open air museum that we wanted to check out. The entire walking path around the Tallinn Bay looks really nice on a pleasant day. We're not going to be getting any of those pleasant sunny days while we're here, but that's okay because Tallinn just happens to have one of the best preserved medieval old towns in all of Europe, and we cannot wait to immerse ourselves in it. We chose this entrance because you basically walk down this one road and you're gonna see most of the attractions just walking the other way. I always think it's so funny seeing cars go through gates like this. I mean, it literally looks like it should be horses. Visiting new countries in Europe for the first time is always so much fun because despite being the size of one of our states back in the US, all of these places have their own flag, their own language, their own culture, and of course, their own style of food. Now we will be dipping into some Estonian cuisine a little bit later, but right now we just woke up, we're kind of hungry for some breakfast. That's something we haven't really gone out and purchased in a while, and we found a perfect place right in the old town. All right, it looks like we found our spot. 5 Senses on Pick Street, P-I-K-K Street, right in the old town. If you're trying to find it, the easiest way to find it is that there's a Texas barbecue place right next door. Estonia is one of the coolest flags I've ever seen. Blue, black, and white. The first time I remember seeing anything about the Estonian flag, it was actually a picture that someone took. It was a landscape shot in the wilderness of Estonia. And this shot perfectly lined up with how the flag actually looks. So it was the sky on top, the trees on the horizon, and then the snow on the bottom. I just thought that was such an amazing example of creativity. And on top of that, I just can't get over how cool the flag is. I just vividly remember that one photograph that I saw, it kind of put Estonia on the map for me, and I kind of knew at least where it was, a little something about it. And when we were deciding on places to go this year, it just kind of crept in my mind like, oh yeah, that was that really cool picture with the flag. We should check it out. And here we are. This city is located right on the Gulf of Finland. In fact, you can take a ferry straight from Helsinki to Tallinn. This city has a few claims to fame. It's definitely a tech hub and it's growing very fast, but there's also a beautifully medieval aspect to this place, especially in the old city. We've made our way over to the main square of the old city. This is actually the town hall right behind me. Now this is usually the square where all of the tourists come during the busy season. This is where you just have chaos, people going every which direction, the restaurant attendants trying to get everyone in the restaurants. But strangely, right now it's a Friday afternoon and there is nobody here. It's just very, very calm here and all around the old city, which we've been hearing some locals talk about. That's actually very rare. You're only gonna get that during the colder months. Now, with that said, we can kind of understand why there's not as many tourists here. It is freezing right now. But either way, we're gonna battle through the cold because there's a lot we have to see. So let's see if we can get all of that before our hands freeze off.
I honestly feel like yesterday we got on a plane and we were transported back to the 1600s. A lot of these medieval looking buildings still have the original foundation. You can tell by the stone arched doorways and the stones around the windows. This honestly feels like the most medieval place we've been to this year.
Even though the old city in Tallinn isn't all that big, you could probably walk from one end to the other in about 15 minutes. It's taking us literally all day because every time we turn a new street, there's so much to see. We have to stop and look at all the buildings. The layout of the streets here is not even close to a grid. It's just pure chaos. Every street just leads into another. They're all winding. But we've heard a lot of people talk about how, especially in medieval places, that's kind of the beauty of it. The fact that this wasn't really planned. A lot of this was just kind of added onto, and it became something different throughout the centuries. There's an undeniable charm to that. Here and all of the medieval places we've been this year, there's beauty in the chaos. We're now on Upper Pick Street. So this street literally divides the old town in half, all the way back to where we came from on that original gate. And you can see that tower in the distance. That is St. Olaf's Church. Right when we entered, we could see the other side of the church. This is a pretty famous church for a few reasons. When Estonia was a Soviet state, that was actually a KGB watchtower, and they watched with their eyes, but they also watched with radio waves. Or I guess I should say listen. It was a dispatch tower as well as a watchtower for the KGB. Another fascinating thing about St. Olaf's Church as well is that it got struck by lightning a whopping 10 times. 3 of these times it completely started on fire and had to be rebuilt. But if you think of the odds of that, even if it is the tallest point in the city, to be struck by lightning a recorded 10 times, it might have been more. Pretty cool that it's still standing to this day. So turning the opposite direction, there's another famous church this way. This is the Alexander Nevsky Cathedral. And it's one of the more unique buildings here in Tallinn because it's a Russian Orthodox cathedral. You can tell by the onion domes, that's what they call them, on the sides of the towers. It's a very specific onion shape when it's a Russian Orthodox building. Funny enough, this is actually the second St. Alexander Nevsky Cathedral that we've seen this year. There's also one in Sofia, Bulgaria. The one in Sofia is a little bit different. It's larger, it's a little bit more flashy with the golden domes on top, but I still see a lot of similarities between the two. It's just the idea of this Russian Orthodox architecture. The way that those domes are shaped, you just don't see that in a lot of religious structures, not just where we're from, but also in the rest of the continent. I mean, in Central and Western Europe, you're gonna see a lot more of the Gothic style cathedrals. And we've had a lot of moments, especially since we're getting towards the end of our time here this year, where we just feel so lucky that we're able to see such cool things. So many of the structures we've seen this year are centuries old, and they still stand here today at the beginning of the 21st century, a tangible connection to all of the history that happened at all these historic places. Tallinn is so fascinating because it's another one of those places, just because of its geographic location, it was a crossroads of a lot of different influence. And I honestly think one of the best examples is right where I'm standing.
Oh, there's this one.
So these statues are monks, and there's something very peaceful about them at the same time, but when we saw it from the other side, a little scary. And just as I say that, I think the monk just whispered something to me. Hold on. What was that? One of the major things we've noticed in Tallinn so far is all of these old structures are so well preserved. A lot of them feel like they're still in their original state. Now this one, of course, has a few new flares to it. I don't think those windows were there back in the 12th century, but it just looks so cool. I mean, look at the railing up there. We are truly fascinated with walled cities, just the idea that back in the day, you had to have them. Otherwise, you're gonna get invaded. And there's just a lot of things we take for granted these days. We've never had to defend our hometown. So one thing about being in Europe, with all of this history, some of it even pretty recent, a lot of things get put in perspective. We have been saying the word medieval all day, over and over again. It's just one of the best words to describe this city. And as we were walking around last night, this restaurant stood out to us as the most medieval looking thing we saw. It's called Old Hansa. Now we overheard this morning that you usually need reservations to get in this place, but since it's not peak tourist season, I'm hopeful we're gonna get in.
Welcome.
Hello, could we have a table for two?
You may. Please by the map of the known world.
Thank you.
Thank you.
bear sausage? What?
Honey beer.
This place is amazing. It's like we're eating at a Renaissance fair.
Good morrow, fair gentles. Look what I won at the Renaissance fair.
That's really nice.
Okay, that place slapped. That was so good. Everything from the ambiance to the quality of the food to the type of food makes you feel like you're in a different time period. That entire room is lit by candlelight. There's not a single electric light in there. All of the amazing fresco style paintings on the wall. And on top of that, to walk out from that restaurant into these cobblestone streets, Sydney had the wild mushroom soup, which was served with a ration of bread. And I went with the wild game sausage, which is made with elk, wild boar, and bear. It's made with bear. And even crazier than that, they actually had bear on the menu, like a bear roast. I don't think I've ever seen bear meat on a menu. They really lean into the theme, and I absolutely love it. You can think it's corny if you want, that's fine by me. We love our corny stuff. That is going to be a staple if I get questions on what to do in Tallinn. Absolute must-have experience. So within the course of the last 10 minutes, it got completely dark. And it is like 4:30 p.m. right now. I think that's another reason why you don't see a lot of tourists here at this time, because you just don't get a lot of daylight. We are so far north that at a certain point, the sun sets at like 4 to 4:30 p.m. And it's not like it rises that early either. So you really got to make the most of your time. This square is truly amazing, especially at night with all the lights. We're really glad we just came back for one more look. And that officially wraps up our day taking in the old city of Tallinn, Estonia. We hope you enjoyed watching. Again, likes and subscribes go a long way for us. Don't forget to do that if you enjoyed the video. We will be back with more content in Estonia and the rest of the Baltics as well, so be sure to look out for that. And we hope to see you again soon.